Hi guys, Fozzie here, the Real Tech Reviewer. Today I'm bringing you a video about the devices that I use on a daily basis. Now I've got them out here for you to see and I'm just going to go through them in order. I'll start off with the smartphone I'm using. My daily driver at the moment, and it has been like this for a while, is the iPhone 5S. I just like the form factor of this phone. I would upgrade to a phone with a bigger screen, but until they make sort of big changes with the phone, I'm happy to stay with this. I'll probably wait for whatever the next iteration is, iPhone 7, whatever that is. But the reason I chose iOS over Android for a daily driver device is simply because when I use my phone, I tend to just want to get stuff done. So I don't want the operating system to slow me down. I want apps to kind of work together seamlessly, and I just want the interface to be nice and fluid and easy to use. And I've found that to be the case with the iPhone. I've been running both iOS and Android phones since smartphones came out, so I've had numerous Android devices. In fact, my last phone was an Android device. I had the Sony Xperia Z, so that was the first iteration of the Xperia Z, the first one, not even the Z1, the Z. So I had that for almost 3 years, and that phone lasted me quite a long time, but I figured it was time for an upgrade. Wanted to jump back to iOS just to try it out and see what it's like. And I'm happy to settle on this, and I think my next phone will be an iPhone. I'm happy with this. The battery life's not great, but it lasts me throughout the day just about. Sometimes it struggles in the evening, but then I can just plug it in. I'm never too far away from power anyway, so that's not too much of an issue. Moving on, my secondary phone is the Sony Xperia M2. Now this isn't a phone that I bought, this was given to me by my company. I just use it as a backup phone. I tend to use it mainly for tethering. My company has given me a 4G data plan, so I can tether data from this to my other devices. I also use the phone occasionally for responding to emails, a bit of browsing, and sometimes use it for mapping and using it for applications like Uber. So it's part of my kind of business travel kit, if you like. I use it for that sort of stuff, but I don't use it for any intensive work, playing games or anything like that. And I've found it, in fact, even just sort of scrolling through menus and scrolling through your applications can be a bit kind of slow and stuttery, and I think you often find that with the lower end Android devices. So if you are going to go for an Android device, and Android's great, there's not really a lot to choose between Android and iOS, but if you do get an Android phone, make sure you get yourself a flagship phone, so one of the high-end devices like an S6 in Samsung's range, or a Note or something like that. But I found that Android doesn't run particularly well on low-end or old hardware. I found that iOS tends to be there tends to be more longevity with the handsets because the operating system can run on older devices. So even now, I've seen people still using iPhone 4S, and perhaps not with the latest version of iOS, but in general, it seems to run quite well for longer than Android does. For a tablet, I'm using the iPad Air in this is the Belkin Code Ultimate Pro Bluetooth keyboard case. I love this case, the keyboard's fantastic, but the main draw really is that it's easy to just disconnect and get back to just having the tablet itself in a case, which is actually quite a nice case. The only side it doesn't protect is this side, so you could add a smart case if you wanted to, but I'm not really bothered. On all my portable devices I use tempered glass screen protectors just to keep them nice, and it still feels the same. If you use cheaper screen protectors, just the plastic ones, you often find there's more resistance on the screen. They don't feel like the regular screen. But if you get a tempered glass one, they feel pretty much just the same as the regular screen, and obviously it's protected. So I've been using those for quite a while now. They seem to work pretty nicely. Why do I use an iPad Air? Well, I've tried a few different tablets. I had the original iPad, and then I had an iPad mini, and then I reverted back to this because this is the iPad Air, but I went back to the full-size model simply because I think the iPad mini is a little bit too small for what I was using it for anyway. I tend to use them just for web browsing and some watching media, so YouTube videos. I can stream stuff from my server using an application called NPlayer, which I would highly recommend. It's a free app on the App Store. It works great with streaming from local servers and stuff like that. Excellent app. But why did I choose the iPad over other tablets? Well, I've also used a Nexus, I've used a Samsung tablet. They just don't seem as responsive. Same with the phones, the operating system just doesn't seem to run as fluid, and swiping between screens just doesn't work as well. But the iPad, the battery life is absolutely outstanding, and that really is the main thing for me. It's also the perfect size and weight really for me. The iPad Air is super thin and lightweight, and this is the ideal size and form factor I think for a tablet. I think Apple really nailed it. Finally, my daily driver for a laptop is the MacBook Pro 13. So this is the MacBook Pro 13-inch 2015 with the Force Touch trackpad. This is only the 8GB RAM model and the 256GB hard drive, SSD, sorry, of course. I've only had this thing for a few weeks, and this is actually my first Mac, so I'm still kind of getting to grips with Mac and the differences between Mac and Windows, and the little things that don't quite work, the little things that you need to tweak in your settings, or things that require third-party applications. Like today, I was trying to unzip a zipped folder that was password protected. You can't natively do that in Mac. You have to download a third-party app. It's a bit of a hassle, but overall, no, I quite like it. I quite like how applications go full screen and you can swipe between different screens. I like that. The trackpad's absolutely phenomenal. It's unlike anything I've used before, and you won't see anything like that on a Windows device, even the top-end versions. But basically, the reason I chose this over a Windows laptop was because I wanted something that was lightweight and slim, with excellent battery life, decent performance. I wanted like an i5 processor and 8GB RAM, that sort of thing. A nice backlit keyboard, high resolution display, a decent trackpad, and that was about it. They were my requirements. I don't game or anything like that. It doesn't have to be like outstanding performance, it just has to be kind of middle of the road i5 kind of thing. But when you start to put all those specs into a device, there aren't many that are available, and so it really boils down to either really high-end Windows laptops. So the HP Spectre was one I looked at, along with the Dell XPS. But when you actually look at reviews and what people are saying about those, some of it doesn't quite add up. So the build quality isn't quite on par, the battery life often isn't, and there's other little weird glitches like Wi-Fi dropping out, things like that. So eventually I just went for this because it was the best hardware I could find for the money. And the operating system, realistically nowadays, I don't think there's too much difference between Mac OS X and Windows. So I don't think that is as much of a problem as people say it is. I don't think there's as much to choose between them as there used to be. So other than the kind of learning curve I've got now, I'm pretty happy with it. I like the battery life. The battery life, you do get a full 10 hours, I've found. If you're doing sort of web browsing, responding to emails, writing some documents, you'll get 10 hours. It's only when you start doing heavy things, so heavy software development or video editing or gaming, which I've not even looked into because I don't really do that anymore anyway. But you do get 10 hours of solid use, which is ridiculously good, really. Other than that, it's a really nice, slim, portable machine. I wanted a 13-inch version just so it's got added portability. I tend to kind of work around and travel a lot. And even when I'm in my base office at home, I actually cycle to work, so I wanted something that I can just stick in a backpack that doesn't weigh me down too much. So that's why I chose this. It does mean though, however, that all of my primary devices are now Apple devices, which wasn't intentional, it's just the way it's worked out. I chose MacBook because it's the best hardware in my opinion. I chose the iPad Air because iPads are the best tablets in my opinion. And I chose an iPhone because I like iOS for a phone. So actually, 2 hardware choices and 1 software choice at the end of the day. But it's all subject to change, and when changes are made to operating systems and devices and such, then I do change it around, and obviously to kind of stay relevant and learn about stuff, you have to test different devices. So my next phone may or may not be an iPhone. It's probably actually could just as well be an Android device. It just see what happens with developers and manufacturers. Anyway, I hope you like this video, guys. If you want to see more from me, or if there's anything in particular you'd like to see, leave a comment, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers. Thank you.